stories, you get to network, you get to talk to vendors, and just communicate in a way that, you know, we haven't been able to as much. And so I think that's always a great thing, to be able to hear each other's stories and hear about other folks that are going through some of the same things that you're going through. In my 20 years of ministry, that was always a great thing for me. I would go and, you know, spend time with other youth ministers and things, and we'd talk about what was going on here and there, and it was just always a great encouragement. And so I appreciate these guys being willing to be a part of this. Going to go through and let them each introduce themselves, tell who they are, where they're from, and maybe kind of where you are in your project. Dustin, we'll start with him. He's on the screen. He was supposed to be with us, but a little under the weatherness earlier in the week kind of kept him back at home, but we appreciate him still being willing to do this with us. So Dustin, if you're able, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yes, I'm Dustin Catoe with Lynch's River Electric out of Pageland, South Carolina. We've been in the fiber project. We started construction back in February last year, and we're on about 1,300 customers signed up now. So we're starting to get rolling pretty good. Start our second phase.
On now, okay.
There you go.
Cody Durham, Tishomingo County Electric, Tishomingo Connect. We're the most northeast county in the state of Mississippi. We serve the whole county pretty much, and small portions of the surrounding counties. We have about 13,500 electric customers. We've got about 11,000 potential on the broadband side when you take out the shops and barns, and pretty much landlocked with that. We've got two great co-ops, Sean and Mr. Ronnie, on our west, who are providing the same service. And we've got Tom Bigby to our south, and TEC in Alabama and Tennessee. So we started back in last year with our project. We started construction in September. Things are going really well there. We've got a whole lot of mainline cable up, and we started customer installs a couple of months ago, and we're up to about 400 now.
Sean McGrath.
Power button.
Okay. Sean McGrath. I'm with Ace Fiber in Corinth, Mississippi. We're about 19,000 electric meters, about 14,500 eligible residential internet subscribers, and about 2,500 or so commercial subscribers. We started our project in construction in March of 2020, and we started rolling out to some residential subscribers in August of 2020. And currently we're at almost 2,500 subscribers. So it's about 25% take rate right now of total passings to this point. And that's about 15% ahead of schedule. So,
all right, awesome. So these guys, as we mentioned, they're all three CFOs at their co-op, and that's, as I think someone else mentioned today, maybe it was Doug, get your CFO involved in a hurry. These three guys at their respective locations are heavily involved in what they're doing and kind of guiding their projects. So maybe each of you, and Dustin, we could start with you. Are there ways in which you have seen early in your project that this has impacted your community and made a difference, or are there ways that you see that it will very shortly?
Absolutely. I think as all of us, we're going in areas that are very unserved, very minimum internet speeds. Just yesterday, I heard a story at lunch a while ago. Just yesterday, we had a young guy going out, knocking on doors, letting them know the internet was available in their service area. And a young lady come to the door who works probably an hour away, and because of her internet speed, she could not work from home. We let her know that she had that speed available to her now. She called in first thing this morning. So I think she'll be able to start working from home as soon as we can get her turned up. But you hear stories like that over and over in the community. There was a preacher at a church who, after got signed on, he told us that, or he put it on Facebook, that, the previous provider, it would take 6 to 12 hours to download his sermon messages. And he said that, he started hours expecting it was going to take a while. He said he turned around to do something, and 3 minutes later, he turned back and it was downloaded. So he put it out on Facebook pretty good, that how good the service was. But you hear stories like this all the time. People are desperately waiting for it, just because of the technology, the speed's not there as of yet.
Yeah, so I think our profile of our co-op is a little bit different than some of the ones we might have even visited, where they had subscribers or potential subscribers that had little to no internet service in the past. We actually have a lot of competition at our co-op with Comcast and AT&T both, being able to provide sufficient internet for most people. And actually the area that we launched to first was within the city of Corinth, had a great deal of Comcast penetration already. And so we knew that we were going to have to compete with them. And so, while we do have the occasional case like Jeff Crow mentioned yesterday, where you've got the little old lady on the porch that's never had internet before, and she was there when they got electrical service in the 1930s. We've got some one-offs like that, but most of our subscribers, we knew we were going to have to face pretty stiff competition. And I think what we've looked at is we were going to compete on service because we were providing such a good service for such a long time with the electric co-op. They had become accustomed to getting really a world-class service where we paid a lot of attention to them. And there was a particular case just last Friday where in my subdivision, ironically enough, we've got a Facebook group for the subdivision. So my wife sends me a text and she says that one of our neighbors' internet's down. I better look at it. And so I look at the Facebook group, and sure enough, he's posted, "Hey, my Ace fiber's out. Anybody else is out?" And there's a few responses that, "No, mine's working great," so on and so forth. And in my head, I'm thinking, yeah, he's done something. So I respond back to him. It's about 4:30 on a Friday afternoon, and I drive home, and I said, I'm going to drive by his house and see if I can tell what's going on. And I get there, and I notice that there's a landscaper that's got equipment on site, and it clicks. Yeah, I bet they've dug the fiber, and sure enough, they had. Again, this is Friday at about 5:30 at that time, and so I talked to the homeowner, and Monday morning we had the line reburied and had their service restored. And I never called tech support, never did anything, posted on a Facebook forum group. How many other service providers are going to be that reactive to that kind of situation? And the truth is, it's none. And even if he had contacted them, it would have been probably 2 to 3 weeks before they would have reburied the line and he would have restored service. I think that's where we fit in. We fit that need, and that's kind of our niche.
Awesome. Cody, did you and Keith, y'all's sock game is strong. I don't know if y'all worked that out before, but I need to improve that. What about you guys at Tish?
Yes, we're like a lot of you that are have a lot of extreme rural situations that we hear. A lot of the no connection at all. I kind of feel sorry for McDonald's. Their business has to be hurt because after we bring internet, there'll be no reason to go sit in the parking lot anymore. So they'll probably be looking for some type of subsidy from us for taking that away from them. But no, seriously, one thing we've heard from people is life changing, and that's kind of an odd way to think about the internet, but in ways it is. A lot of ways it is. One thing that we are doing, just like everybody here, that symmetrical speed, that high upload speed is going to allow that telemedicine, the working from home, all those great, the video conferencing, all these Zoom calls. That's really what separates this, a big way that this is separated from cable and other means of internet delivery. So, I think our members are going to really appreciate that. And another thing, this is the once and for all solution. Fiber is scalable. We all know that. And being able to deliver the speeds that we're delivering for the prices that we're delivering, we were real worried about Starlink this time last year. There's a lot of talk, a lot of unknown. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. We even had people, I'm sure everybody has, saying, well, what about low Earth orbit satellites? What about this? What about 5G? And then they come out with the pricing, $500 up front, $99 a month. We're sitting here, no installation fee, no data caps, no speed throttling, $60, no contracts, $60 a month. I just think our members will really appreciate that and be a solution once and for all going forward.
All three of you guys, you had the benefit of kind of coming behind some other projects that were a little bit ahead of you and being able to learn from some of those. I want to start with Sean and then Dustin and then go to Cody on this one because, Sean, of the three, you guys are a little bit further ahead, and then Dustin and Cody. What lessons maybe did you learn from those that went ahead of you, and how were you able to apply that in your project?
I'll step away from the CFO / accounting and finance role for just a minute on that and go, if I can, to marketing. We visited a co-op in Missouri, SEMO. Some of you know Sean Van Slyke up there and the things that they're doing. I think we learned a great deal from that co-op on a couple different fronts. But he said he had one really good piece of advice, and that was, use your phones, your digital marketing to your advantage. And Facebook is a huge medium for that co-op up there. And we learned some valuable lessons there and applied that to our situation, and really have been proactive from a social media standpoint, really proactive with our members as far as getting the message out to them of when and where we were going to be, why we were starting, where we were at, just very transparent with them. And I think it's worked out to our advantage. We had visited some other co-ops and their Facebook page, and we were kind of leery about it at first, just because there is some negativity. You're gonna face some backlash, and you have to have some thick skin on that. But I think being transparent with them and upfront has really paid off for us. And the other thing is that we learned from several other co-ops is you've got great employees at your co-op already. They're used to providing great customer service. Utilize those folks. They can learn something new. They can learn the fiber world as well. And I think there's a lot of former and still co-op folks in this room that I'm looking at that have learned a great deal in a short amount of time.
All right, Dustin, what about Lynch's River? Dustin, you still there? Oh, you're muted, or am I muted?
Sorry about that.
There you go.
I think one of the key lessons that I learned meeting with other cooperatives is you're going to make mistakes. This is a multi-million-dollar project. Mistakes are going to happen. You try to limit them, and you adapt to them when you do make mistakes. And always keep a positive outlook on it. That's probably the main lesson that I learned.
All right, Cody.
So I got a few things. I got notes here. I'm not a great speaker. I have to collect my thoughts. But overall, and we all know this, it's for our members. Some of us are serving outside of the area, but it's still for our communities and the people that we really care about and live with, and it's worth it. I had a lot of thoughts. There's a few different methods of building a network, from the fiber hut to the material on the line. Are you going to do ADSS? Are you going to do loose tube, strand and lash? Are you going to use tap, split? And one of the things I was always noticed and was told by people is, first of all, it all works, and you have to pick a method and go with it, and pick your partners who are experienced using those types of methods. Don't ask somebody to do something. They might tell you they can do it, but stick with people who have experience doing the things and the ways that you want it done. Another thing, rules make life easy if people will be committed to them. That starts with your board, with management, down to your partners, what you expect on your construction flow. It's similar to if you tell the truth, you don't have to remember anything. If you have rules, everybody's equal. A couple of things that comes to mind with that is your design order. You know, you don't want to start and then have to change unless you have to, like we did due to grant money, but kind of keeping expectations with your board and your members of this is where we're going, this is what we're going to do, even down to things like the NID placement. It just seems to be easier if you have a rule, we're putting it here, this is where it's going to go. It kind of take out as many pieces as you can that's going to make it. It's plenty complicated, as many of you know, plenty complicated on its own, and the more things that you can simplify, the better off you'll be.
Cody, we'll start with this next question with you. When you think about your specific project and your specific area, your town, your communities, were there some things maybe that were unique challenges for your specific projects that you guys didn't expect or didn't hear others facing? Just maybe elaborate on that a little bit.
Yeah, I can't say that we've had any truly unique challenges that I would like to mention anyway, but of course everybody's dealt with COVID. You know, I guess that's unique to some projects. You know, there's different issues with that. We do have a very conservative board. We have a 13-member board, which is rather large for a system of our size. You know, our net plant's going to double in 2 years. That's a big deal. And that doesn't come without a price tag. You know, it's $26, $30 million for us. We had $500,000 in debt before this project. It was going to go away by 2027. So we've completely turned that around and got our equity back in line with where closer to the national average now. Another thing that we had that was unique, was a good problem to have, is the state grant program, the COVID-19 grant program the state of Mississippi did. It was very challenging. Sean can attest to that even more than I can. We had specific timelines for spending. There was an influx of new interest, which created material and labor issues. We had to restructure our design order. That was what I was going back to. It's kind of funny I say stick with that order, but we had to go into underserved and unserved areas first, which was fine, but you have to scramble with engineering at that point. You know, we had 5 months, we thought, to spend how much ever we asked for, up to $6 million. We got $4.7 million. So we thought we had to have that spent by December 30th. It got changed, but we were working on a really tight time crunch right out the gate. And in the middle of all that, you know, we have challenges through legal means, through, we think, cable companies and large telcos that challenged all of us that were doing it on the co-op side in the state. So it was just a lot of stress, especially for us, you know, for everybody included, but for us just starting, it kind of lined up with our timeline, but it was just a big challenge right out the gate for us. But we've been able to get through it well, and I would say that would be not a truly unique situation compared with other co-ops in the state, but something that some other people, you know, that got started at different times didn't have to or didn't experience.
Sean?
Yeah, I don't even know where to start with as many challenges it seems like we've had. You know, it was last May, right around this time, I was coming home from visiting my parents in Dallas, and I was crossing the bridge right at West Memphis, and my boss calls me and says, we got a cease and desist letter from a First Light Fiber in Albany, New York, and asking us to abandon our brand and our quit using their trademark. And I about drove off the bridge at that point. So that, you know, that was one challenge, and we quickly shifted, and I'll put a plug in for Activate. They helped us navigate those waters almost seamlessly and transition to Ace Fiber. But I am going to speak to the CARES Act grant that we got from the state of Mississippi through federal funding. That was a challenge we didn't expect. We applied for right at, I think, $5.4 million, and you know, that was to serve those underserved and unserved areas. And the state of Mississippi, when they wrote that legislation, I think made a little bit of an error in not saying census block groups. They said census blocks, which just kind of micro-focused where we needed to be a little further. But that took us out of our original game plan a little bit and made us go to the areas that we didn't plan on being at for another 2 to 3 years to provide service, which is great, great for those folks, and they definitely needed it. But it required an engineering and design shift right on the fly, and that was some difficult waters to navigate through.
Dustin, what about you guys?
Well, of course, like Cody said, we had coronavirus, inventory issues. At one time, engineering, trying to get engineering on pace. One of the bigger ones that I can think of was our network issues. We got to a point where we were dead in the water. This is how we come to know Logicom. We had met and they were doing our tier 1. We started talking with them about doing some of our tier 3 networking. We gave them a call where we had been begging other people to come look at the problem, and couldn't get them here. And talked with Nick, and Nick said, "Let me get back to you." And about 3 hours later, he said, "Mate Room will be there next week with our team." And they came in, they went over the whole network that week, started fixing problems. Thanks to Logicom, we were able to get friendlies on and start with our program. That basically allowed us to actually go live. So that was one of the major problems was with our network, trying to get it started, and then I guess turning out finding the right people to get it kick-started.
Well, this is not on their notes, but one of the things that I heard kind of all three of you talking about there, and maybe want to touch about, is it sounds like adaptability is a pretty key trait that you need in a project like this. And as I think about utilities and cooperatives in particular, it seems like that kind of flows in your alley. I mean, do you think that history it makes you more resilient and able to deal with those challenges? And whoever wants to start with that can go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think the fact that we are cooperative employees, historically we've had to wear a lot of hats. I think that'd be fair to say. And I think that fact has helped us transition to the world of providing fiber and having to be nimble and adaptable and change on the fly, and not panic. Typically within the electric cooperative industry, when the storm's coming, that's when we're ready to work. And we didn't realize what kind of storm broadband was going to be specifically, but I think we put our hats on and we're coming prepared to work.
Yeah, I agree. Being around for 80 plus years, serving electricity to everybody, they've come to know and appreciate us, and I think co-ops are very well positioned for this. But I will say something a little counter to this. I think a lot of times as co-ops we can get comfortable with the electric side, with our certificated areas, and we're guaranteed business basically. And on this electric side, on the fiber side, it's competitive, even though if the competition is inferior. People have choices, and we just have to take the resilient mindset, the hard work ethic, and don't quit attitude that we've used on the co-op side for 80 plus years to do the best we can for broadband.
It's kind of a double-edged sword, at least from the things that I see, working with all of you guys and talking to you about, how to sell things. Is that, the great side of marketing to your community is the fact that you are a trusted provider. There's somebody The bad side of that is you're just not used to marketing to anybody, right? You either have electricity or you don't, and trying to, learn that side of it always seems to be a challenge. Dustin, you want to add to that?
Well, Nick, you're taking my answer to one of the later questions.
My bad.
Was definitely adapt. You have so many challenges. you always got to just look for the solution. Whenever a problem comes, you got to adapt to it and be ready to go with whatever the answer is. And I think it was Sean that said, being the co-op, we're used to wearing many hats and doing what needs to be done to make sure the job gets done. And I think that's why a lot of cooperatives can be very successful for this. And now quote Sean again, because of the service that we can give them. And what we try to do on the electric side, we can do the same thing on the fiber side.
So when you think about, you were once that person looking for that advice, looking for that help, thinking about that, what now, if you could package up that advice or things you've learned, what do you guys tell to the people that ask, what do you say to the ones that are asking you about a project and lessons and advice, et cetera? Where do you guys go when you have those discussions now? Cody, you want to start?
So the best advice, I guess, that I've been given, and we're still really early on, but to take true ownership of the project. A lot of good partners that you work with during the process, and the truth is we can't always afford to have them around. It's nice here in the beginning, you got to have somebody to tell you what you don't know, but in the long run, this the system's ours. And taking true ownership, getting your own employees involved, making some hires, learning as much as you can about the ins and outs, learning which partners that you can use long term, which ones make sense to use long term, which ones don't. There's a place, time and place for all kinds of people in these projects. So, taking ownership, that's probably the best advice that I've been given. And if I had to add anything that I think or that I've learned throughout the process is, number one, you got to be intentional. We're an extremely small shop. We wear a ton of hats, and if you're not intentional with your days, if you're not intentional with your times, if you don't plan, if you don't look to the future, then you're just going to get lost, and you can't get behind in these projects. There's too many moving pieces. There's too many people counting on you. There's too much expectations from your membership. There's too much expectations from your boards. There's too much expectations from your employees. And just coming in each day, realizing that it is going to change. I think everybody that's involved in this can say it's life-changing. Things were a lot different before we got into this. It's like for a lot of us, we had a full-time job and we added a extra full-time job on top. And it can be a whole lot at times, most of the time. But just being intentional, and second of all, getting the right people on board. There's one of my favorite books is called Good to Great by Jim Collins. It's why some companies make the leap and some don't. And one of the points that he makes in that book is to get the right people on the bus. If you don't get the right people on the bus, you're going to have trouble. And if you do get the right people on the bus, you can do anything. So we've made a couple of hires, and we're trying to be very focused on doing the best we can to get the right people on the bus, the right people with that co-op mentality of I'll sweep the floor, or I'll draw down $10 million all in the same day. I'll do anything you need me to do. That's the only kind of people we're interested in getting on the bus, and I think that's what you have to be successful with this thing long term. And keeping your members and your employees informed, that's something that we do not do the best of, but we try our best. Sometimes that can be a little intimidating due to the negativity that Sean mentioned earlier. Facebook's a powerful tool. We've experienced the community Facebook groups, and people are unreasonable. Tons of keyboard heroes out there. People will type things that they would otherwise never say, and think things that you otherwise wouldn't think they would say. And the truth of the matter is, it's a powerful tool. And with a cooperative setup, you can have uprisings and all kinds of different things. But trying to keep that positive image out there, trying to keep people informed of what's going on, telling them why it has to be this way. Of course, people aren't always going to understand, but just doing the best job there. But I think that's some of the things I would add to that.
All right. Dustin, your thoughts?
Somebody mentioned him earlier, and I'm going to mention him again. His name's Jeff Crow. He come early on in our project, right before construction, and me and the other manager were sitting at a conference table with him. And he asked us a couple inventory questions, and he sat back in his chair and he looked at us and he said, "Boys, we got a problem." Me and the manager looked at each other and then looked at Jeff, and our eyes got big. He said, "What is it?" And Jeff said, "The two people in charge here don't have a clue what's going on." And we didn't. I mean, we're used to power. And kind of goes to what Cody said, taking ownership. At that time, I realized, we had to get very involved, and we had to get very involved real quick. You couldn't rely on the contractors to do everything for you. You had to step in and start doing stuff. And as Cody also said, hire the right people. We got a guy there, if he hadn't left already, Joey Adams, ton of experience, and make him stand up, Nick. Let's get him embarrassed.
Joe. He's way back there in the corner. Dustin left him out to dry this week and said, "Go by yourself."
But I'd say hire you a Joey Adams, somebody with a lot of experience, and hire them early on, because the things that you're trying to learn, they already know, and they can teach you as you go forward. Some of the other things is patience. You work on a project trying to get construction going for 6 months, 8 months before you put on that first person, and you're thinking about this every day, and just as soon as you flip the switch for everything to go on, everybody that you ever knew is going to call in at 8 o'clock that next morning, and you go, and 8:05 gets there, 8:10 gets there, the phone's still not ringing, but eventually they do start to come in, and it's, you think about it every day, and they think about it, when it's convenient for them. So patience is another virtue, and then as we said before, you got to adapt to anything that comes along. Sometimes you can get focused with a plan and try to stick with that plan, but you also have to tell yourself sometimes, all right, we got to make some changes here, and know when the time is to pull the trigger to make those changes.
All right, I'm going to step on some toes, I guess, because we're talking about what advice would I give. We had a co-op from Texas visit us a couple weeks ago, and 5 or 6 guys and a lady walk in the room and meet with me, and I said, what do you guys do? And they went around and told me. I said, "Where's your CFO?" We left him in Texas. Mistake. You've got to get your accounting and finance folks involved. Because you have to know your product, and you have to be able to price accordingly. And I remember when we were looking at our product mix and what we were going to set our package pricing at, talking to a co-op, and I said, "How did you guys come up with your package pricing?" We looked at what Tom Bigby was doing, and that's great for Tom Bigby. That's great for whoever, but you can't base it on what other people are doing. Each of your products is going to be slightly different. You're going to have a different competition level within your community, different price points, and I think you have to get your accounting and finance folks involved. And it's good to see that a lot of you are those accounting and finance folks in this room today. So obviously you're doing something well there.
Every co-op's different. Every municipality is different, right? And everything has to be fit, to that specific need, specific location. I like what Cody said a minute ago as far as, about the kind of people that you get in there. One of the things that I love so much about working with electric utilities, and particularly in the co-op world in rural areas, is just that investment that you see from the people, from the employees, from the leadership. I have a friend who's 82 years old, and he owns a Chick-fil-A in Mount Juliet, Tennessee, and got some time to talk to him. And I just said, man, I'm infatuated not only with the, chicken nuggets at Chick-fil-A, but just how they do what they do. How are they able to have a line, 72 people around the block, and, all the negative press that they get from time to time, but they just still, continue day after day to do what they do. And I said, how do you do that? And he said, one thing, my 20 years of leading organizations, there's only one thing I care about when it comes to hiring people is, do they care? Do they care about what we're doing? Do they care about people? Do they care about, impacting other people? And that's a cool thing. And I think, that would, any organization can benefit from people that care. He said his line was, I can teach anybody how to fry chicken, but I cannot teach you how to care. And so I've just always been impressed by these guys, all of you, and how much you seem to care about people, care about making a difference. And that's a cool thing for us at Logicom just to be a part of. And we thank you for letting us be a part of that. Thank these guys for being a part of what we're doing today and being willing to get up on stage and share some of their stories. I'm gonna let y'all wave at Dustin. He hadn't been able to see you there, but we hate that he didn't get to be with us. Hopefully he will get to be with us next time. So thank you guys for being with us. Let's give these guys a round of applause. So I'm going to ask Bobby if he wants to come back up with me for just a second. It's just amazing to believe again that we are, here at the end of the first Connect conference. I personally want to say a special thank you for you being here, being a part of this, and you're just great encouragement to help us make this event possible. To all of our sponsors and vendors, thank you for being here. It's just been an awesome experience to be here with you this week. We're not done. This is the last time we'll gather like this, but we do want to remind you that we have our dinner sponsored by Adtran. That will be out on the deck. I don't know if did we find out which part of the deck by chance, Michelle? Past the bar. Not the bar in the ocean, but the one on the pool. Like that way. Okay. So go that way. There are some other groups that are out there, but look for some of us because you will want to get your drink tickets as you come in, like we had the other night. And we look forward to a great evening. We have a gentleman named Chuck Lawson will be here to provide some entertainment. We just want you to relax and enjoy the evening together, have fun, eat some good food. We look forward to being back with you again. Hopefully next year we'll look at doing this again. And when we get back and maybe recover for a couple of days, we'll send some follow-up emails because I know that you want some more emails from me about Connect Conference, right? So we'll get you some follow-up information, get you some of the information that we've had and share that with you. So I want to turn it over to Bobby and let him close us out. And after he says what he would like to say, we are dismissed.
Ditto. I'm not going to talk much. You guys have been sitting here all day. Just to echo Nick's sentiments, couldn't have done this without our sponsors. Looking forward to a great Adtran dinner tonight. And thank all you guys for being a part of this. And I hope that over these last 2 days, you understand how much your members actually mean to us. Your members mean as much to us as they do to you. So thanks again for coming. We hope to see you all again next year, and let's go enjoy some dinner.